It's 3 a.m. You're wide awake, heart pounding, replaying that $47 overdraft fee. Meanwhile, someone in the top 1% is sound asleep, while their money earns $1,283 in that same hour. They're not smarter, they're not luckier. They just stopped managing money and started designing systems. You've been taught that wealth requires hustle, sacrifice, or genius. But the truth, the top 1% use 10 quiet systems, so automated, so invisible, they compound while their owners live, rest, and dream. And the most shocking part? You can activate 7 of them today with no extra income. The myth of the self-made billionaire distracts us from the real engine of generational wealth: passive, system-driven compounding. The top 1% don't get rich by trading time for dollars or obsessing over budgets. They get rich by installing self-replicating financial architectures that require minimal maintenance but deliver exponential returns. Consider this: the average net worth of the top 1% isn't built from stock tips or crypto gambles. It's built from fee-free banking, automated investing, tax-advantaged accounts, and behavioral guardrails that run 24/7. While most people fight daily fires, the wealthy have engineered their money to be fireproof. And here's the liberating truth: you don't need millions to start. Many of these systems begin with redirecting $5, changing a default, or renaming an account. What separates the top 1% isn't access, it's awareness. They know wealth isn't about what you earn, it's about what you automate, protect, and forget. But this isn't about envy, it's about adoption. Because these systems aren't secrets, they're just invisible to those still stuck in the hustle. The goal isn't to be rich, the goal is to build systems that make being poor impossible. I'm Habby, the habit accountant. I don't track net worth, I reverse engineer the quiet systems that create it.
Meet Daniel, 39, high school teacher, makes $68,000 a year. He reads finance blogs, tracks every dollar, and maxes out his 403(b). By all accounts, he's doing everything right. But at night, he still lies awake wondering, why do I feel one emergency away from collapse? He doesn't know it yet, but he's missing the quiet layer. The top 1% don't out-earn him, they out-system him. And what Daniel didn't realize was that his hustle was hiding a broken infrastructure. Daniel represents the well-intentioned majority, disciplined, educated, and responsible, yet still financially fragile. He budgets meticulously, avoids credit card debt, and contributes to retirement. But his system is active, not passive. It requires constant input, perfect behavior, and emotional bandwidth he rarely has after grading papers until 10 p.m. Meanwhile, someone in the top 1% with the same income uses invisible leverage. Their emergency fund sits in a high-yield account, not 0.01%. Their investing is fully automated across tax-advantaged accounts. Their spending is governed by preset rules, not willpower, and their subscriptions, fees, and debts are monitored by systems, not spreadsheets. Daniel exhausts himself maintaining control. The top 1% architect it once and forget it. The difference isn't effort, it's design philosophy. Daniel sees wealth as a verb, I must manage. The quietly wealthy see it as a noun, I have built. And that shift from manager to architect is where real freedom begins. So let's audit the first quiet system, the one that costs nothing but pays forever.
System number 1, the autopilot paycheck split. The top 1% don't save what's left. They pay themselves first, before they see a single dollar. Not 20%, not even 10%. Just 3 to 5% automatically split on payday into 3 silent accounts: a freedom buffer, a future self account, and a legacy seed. This isn't budgeting, it's financial triage at the source, so money flows to what matters before lifestyle inflation can claim it. Most people follow the reactive model: Income, spending, maybe saving. The top 1% use the proactive model. Income, automated allocation, spending. The magic isn't the percentage, it's timing and invisibility. If money disappears on payday, your lifestyle adapts, but if you wait to decide later, you'll rationalize keeping it. Daniel implemented this with direct deposit, 3% to his Roth IRA, 1.5% to a high-yield savings account, 0.5% to a custodial account. Total, 5%, $283 a month. He never saw it. He never missed it. But in 12 months, he had $3,400 saved and invested without changing his behavior. This works because it removes choice. And in a world of decision fatigue, the ultimate luxury isn't money, it's not having to decide. But even perfect allocation fails if your money sits in a silent wealth killer, your bank. So let's talk about system number 2.
System 2, the invisible bank. Your bank isn't a vault. It's a profit engine designed to keep your money idle, visible, and leak-prone. The top 1% don't use Main Street banks for core wealth building. They use invisible banks, fee-free, high-yield, automation-native institutions that pay them, not the other way around. Switching isn't about convenience, it's about claiming value most people never see. The average big bank setup costs people unnecessary fees and lost interest, pure erosion disguised as normalcy. The top 1% separate functions: daily spending in a no-fee checking account, emergency fund in a high-yield savings account, wealth building in a brokerage that supports auto-investing. Daniel switched fast. He saved monthly fees, moved his emergency fund to a higher yield account, and automated transfers between accounts. Result, his money started working for him, not against him. But even the best bank fails if your money is trapped in invisible debt loops. That's system number 3. System number 3, the debt firewall. The top 1% don't avoid debt. They contain it using a debt firewall that prevents leakage into long-term wealth destruction. 3 rules. Good debt only. Auto-pay full balance, never minimums. And isolate debt accounts so they never infect savings or investing. This isn't austerity, it's strategic compartmentalization. Most people make 3 fatal errors. They carry high-interest debt while earning nothing on savings. They pay minimums for years, and they mix spending, saving, and debt in one messy system. The top 1% build boundaries. They eliminate toxic debt first. They automate payoff, and they keep investing from stopping even while debt gets cleared. Daniel had $14,000 in credit card debt at 22.9% APR. He moved it to 0% intro APR, set a fixed autopay designed to clear it in 36 months, and removed daily access so it couldn't grow. Meanwhile, his investing never paused. Debt was gone in 3 years. Net worth kept rising. That's the debt firewall, turning debt into a timed mission, not a life sentence. Now comes the wealth composter, system number 4. System number 4, the legacy drip. The top 1% don't wait to have enough to give. They start with a legacy drip, sometimes as small as $5 a month, automated, consistent, and wrapped in story. This isn't charity, it's identity engineering. Even small amounts compound for decades, but the real power is what it teaches: stewardship. Daniel started with $7 a month from a canceled subscription. He labeled the account for his niece, and once a year he added a 1-sentence note. The money grew, but more importantly, the meaning grew. Legacy isn't about the amount, it's about embedding values into infrastructure, so wealth becomes a verb, not a number. But even the best legacy fails if your mind is still running scarcity software. That's why system number 5 matters. System number 5, the scarcity override. The top 1% aren't immune to fear. They just install cognitive overrides so old beliefs don't hijack new wealth. When the thought shows up, "I can't afford to invest," they don't argue.
They trigger evidence, auto-invest receipts, statements, reminders from their past self. This isn't positive thinking, it's behavioral reconditioning. Daniel recorded a voice note. "You're not that kid anymore. You're the builder. Keep going." Each automated deposit became proof, not theory, and the nervous system updates faster through proof than logic. This system doesn't fight the past, it outgrows it. But even a rewired mind needs protection from the modern world's greatest predator. System number 6.
System number 6, the attention shield. The top 1% don't rely on willpower to resist financial noise. They build an attention shield, blocking lifestyle inflation, FOMO offers, and subscription creep before it reaches awareness. This isn't minimalism, it's selective invisibility. The top 1% control inputs, filters for promotional emails, unfollows for comparison triggers, rules for subscriptions. Daniel did it in one evening. Temptations dropped, impulse spending fell, and decision-making got easier because he stopped seeing the bait. Willpower is a muscle. Attention is a gatekeeper. But even perfect attention control won't build wealth without compounding rituals. That's system number 7.
System number 7. The compounding ritual. The top 1% don't check their investments daily. They don't even check monthly. They check quarterly during a short ritual that reinforces calm, not panic. Verify auto-invest ran. Write one sentence, "Future me got paid again." Close the app, detach for 90 days. Daniel stopped watching day-to-day movement. He stayed invested through volatility, and his identity shifted into someone who trusts the process. Compounding needs silence. Patience is leverage. But even the calmest investor needs a way to measure success that isn't money. System number 8.
System number 8 is the peace metric. The top 1% don't measure wealth only in dollars. They measure it in peace units. Nights slept through, hours reclaimed, no's spoken without guilt, emergencies handled without panic. Daniel tracked peace, and even when net worth didn't move much, his freedom did. When your benchmark is calm, not comparison, lifestyle inflation loses its power. But measurement alone isn't enough. System number 9 is community reinforcement. System number 9, the quiet pod. The top 1% don't go it alone. They build a quiet pod, 2 to 3 peers who share systems, not net worth. No shame, no flexing, just check-ins about behaviors. Daniel joined a pod with 2 peers. They didn't discuss balances. They discussed automation, resets, and rules. And that reflection locked the identity in place. I'm a builder. But every system needs one final layer, the one that ties it together. System number 10. Before we go to system number 10, the lifelong audit, let's confront an uncomfortable truth. Most people aren't poor because they lack income. They're poor because they're trapped in invisible habits that silently erase wealth, even when they do everything right. Take Marcus, 36, electrician, makes $84,000 a year, well above national average. He tracks every dollar, avoids debt, puts 6% into his 401k, and yet, last winter, a $600 furnace repair sent him into credit card debt. Again. Why? Not because he's irresponsible, but because he's unknowingly feeding 3 silent poverty habits, so common, so normalized, they feel like wisdom. These aren't moral failures, they're systemic illusions, passed down as common sense, taught in schools, even praised online. But the top 1% avoid them not by being smarter, but by seeing them for what they are, wealth erasers. In the next 3 segments, we'll expose each one, not to shame, but to liberate, because once you see the trap, you can step out of it forever. Ready for habit number 1? Habit number 1, the budget illusion. You're not broke because you don't budget. You're broke because your budget feels like control, but delivers none. Most budgets fail within 90 days, not from laziness, but because they're reactive, manual, and shame-based. The top 1% don't budget. They architect flows, so money moves automatically to what matters without a single spreadsheet. Budgeting is the most widely prescribed and least effective financial habit for average earners. Why? Because it assumes unlimited willpower, perfect foresight, and emotional bandwidth. In reality, most people abandon their budget within weeks, not because they're disciplined, but because manual tracking is a cognitive tax disguised as virtue. Every time you log a coffee or adjust a category, you pay a decision fee. Over time, this creates resentment, guilt, and burnout. Worse, budgets trap you in scarcity theater. You feel responsible while still leaking money through unused apps, bank fees, and near-zero interest savings. The top 1% bypass this entirely. They don't ask, how much can I spend? They ask, how much must be protected first? Then they automate it. Their budget is pre-wired rules. Pay future self first, fund the buffer, and treat what remains as spendable. Marcus used a popular zero-based budgeting app for 14 months. He spent 27 hours managing it and saved nothing extra. The furnace repair still broke him. When he switched to flow architecture, he redirected a small monthly amount from canceled subscriptions and auto-invested it before seeing his paycheck. In months, he had a buffer, small but real. More importantly, he stopped feeling like a failure. Budgets promise control, but deliver exhaustion. Flow architecture delivers calm and compounding. But even perfect flow fails if you're trapped in the next silent wealth killer. Habit number 2, the income illusion. You've been sold a lie. Just earn more and your money problems will vanish. But higher income without system design doesn't create wealth. It creates faster leakage. The top 1% know freedom isn't earned, it's engineered. And without systems, a raise is just a faster path to the same anxiety. Lifestyle inflation isn't a character flaw, it's a system failure. When income rises without preset rules, spending expands to fill the space. You think you're climbing, but you're just moving the treadmill faster. Marcus got a $9,000 raise after his certification. His first thought was, now I can finally get ahead. But within 6 months, his bank balance looked the same. Why? Upgraded phone, higher streaming tiers, premium meal kit, newer truck lease. The extra income disappeared because it had no assigned mission. The top 1% treat raises like windfalls. They capture the upside before lifestyle absorbs it. They use raise protocols, automatic rules the moment income increases. Part goes to investing, part to debt payoff, and only a controlled slice to lifestyle. And it's not just raises. Windfalls, tax refunds, bonuses, side gigs get spent fast when there's no preset destination. The fix isn't restraint, it's pre-commitment. Decide once where the extra money goes, automate it, and remove the negotiation. Income is fuel. Systems are the engine. No engine? You're just burning gas in place. But even with higher income and better systems, one hidden habit can erase decades of progress. Habit number 3, the visibility trap. The more you see your money, the less you keep. Checking your balance daily isn't vigilance, it's voluntary exposure to temptation, and it's costing you thousands through emotional spending, panic decisions, and chronic anxiety. Finance culture glorifies staying on top of your accounts, but behavioral science shows visibility breeds reactivity. When you constantly monitor your balances, money becomes a mood ring, your nervous system rising and falling with every fluctuation. Marcus checked his bank app 14 times a week. Every notification triggered a micro-stress response. When markets dipped and his portfolio dropped, he nearly pulled out, not because it was rational, but because it felt like relief. The top 1% design strategic invisibility. They don't check investments outside quarterly rituals. They separate spending money from savings money, so balances don't blend. They disable most notifications. They remove finance apps from the home screen. One investor I studied hasn't logged into his brokerage in years. His auto invest runs silently. His wealth grew not because he's brilliant, but because he refused to let noise override the system. Marcus finally deleted his banking apps after a panic-induced impulse buy. He set alerts only for fraud and large charges. The result? Spending dropped, anxiety dropped, and he slept through the night for the first time in years. Visibility feels like control, but it often does the opposite. It hands your peace to algorithms, market noise in a tired brain. True control isn't seeing everything. It's trusting your system enough to look away. Now that we've exposed these 3 silent wealth erasers, we're ready for the final system, the one that turns awareness into legacy. System 10, the lifelong audit. The top 1% don't achieve freedom once. They practice a lifelong audit. 5 phases: awareness, activation, integration, expansion, transmission. Daniel now does this with his niece. They look at spending, they automate saving, they let it grow, they attach meaning, and they pass the habit forward. This is how wealth becomes culture, not just capital. And that's the real secret. The top 1% aren't rich because they have more money. They're rich because they built a self-replicating system of peace and made it ordinary. I'm Javi, and I'll see you in the next audit.